So let's start applying a little bit of what we've learned so far. In Chapter 6, there's a file called cssstyles.html. You should be able to see over in your Files panel. Go ahead and open that up. Now this particular page doesn't look very good. You might remember from an earlier chapter, we took a look at our page properties and what we could style on our page with those page properties. If I click on this Page Properties button at the bottom of my property inspector, I see that I already have some things applied. I have a page font, a size, a text color, a background color, my left and my right margins. I do have some link colors in here as well, and some heading sizes and colors also. I'm just going to click either, it doesn't matter, OK, cancel, whatever. And let's take a look at the code. So if I go to my code, you might remember that we talked about the fact that when we use the page properties, it ends up inside of your page itself. So per page. So imagine this is probably not something that you would want to do very often. This is something that is going to take precedence over an actual external style. So if I accidentally styled the same thing here, then had something as an external style, then it's going to be this particular styling, not what I have in my external style. So I really want to be careful also because it's on the page itself and not external, so that if I have a whole bunch of pages to update for that particular, whether it's a P tag or an H1 or an actual element on my page, we need to be aware of the inheritance value of what we have on our page. Now, I also said that our page properties isn't a bad place to start if you're learning CSS. What you need to be aware of it is we basically need to take it out of our page and make it external so that we can add to it from there. So this is how we do that. So if I take a look at the actual element itself, I saw the end tag there. And if I scroll up a little bit on my page, then I also see the beginning tag. So I have a style type equals text/CSS. So I see that I have my body defined here, and I'm going to highlight from there all the way down to the end curly brace. I don't want to include the closed tag in that as well. So once I have that selected, I can either do one of two things. I can either right click inside of where I have selected, or I can use my sidebar for my code and show more. So I've got my move or convert CSS. So if I click on that, I can say I can convert an inline CSS to a rule, which is really handy. So if somebody has accidentally put some inline styling, you can convert that to a rule. Or maybe some older code. Sometimes you run across some pages that have been around for a long time, and a lot of times people in the very beginning when they started using CSS had put things in line instead of actually putting them in rules, really simply because they didn't know any better. So if you ever run across something that's actually in line, that we can indeed move it from being in line to an actual rule. So I'm going to choose Move CSS Rules here. Or again, if I was on the page itself, and let me highlight that one more time, I would right click, I would say CSS Styles, and move CSS Rules. So I'm going to move this to a new style sheet, and I will click OK. Make sure that we're in our right chapter. So I see that I'm in my chapter 6 inside of my assets, inside of my CSS. And I'm going to just call this my style, and make sure you put the .css on it, because that way then Dreamweaver knows that it's a CSS file right away. That's really all I have to do when I'm typing even something. So if I right click on my site root and add a new file, as long as I put the extension on it, then Dreamweaver knows exactly what it's meant to be. So I'll say save. And now I see that I have a link there instead. So we're even going to get rid of that link. And I'm going to refresh my CSS styles panel. Make sure you can see your CSS styles panel, and it's clicked on all instead of current. So I also have one little bit left in here as well, just so you know that you don't have to find it in the code. If I want to get rid of that little style bit, because I really don't need it now, if I want to get rid of that, I just click on it over in my styles panel, and I click on my trash can to get rid of that. So now I have absolutely no styles defined. If we take a look at our design view, we see that we just have really just strictly a bunch of text on a page. I do have a heading 1 and a heading 3 here, etc. On my page. I've got some paragraphs, and I have some unordered lists on my page as well.